Julie with Joy Dog Yoga. Today's sequence is for those with knee pain, arthritis in the knee, or just wanting a practice to strengthen muscles around the knee and keep your knees happy and healthy. So first we're going to start by just taking some breaths, inhaling through the nose and exhaling out of the mouth. One more time. And then standing in Samastitihi, okay, hands at heart center. We're going to rock back and forth a little bit from our heels to our toes until we feel like we're evenly on both feet and all four corners of both feet. And knees are not going to lock. We're going to keep them just a little bit soft. And we're engaging those quadriceps, pulling the quadriceps kind of up away from the knees. And the knees and ankles and feet are roughly frontal hip distance apart, frontal hip bone distance apart, okay? In alignment, head over heart, heart over hips, hips over knees, and knees over ankles. Shoulders are back just a little bit. And thinking of your spine and your shoulders as kind of the coat rack for your body. So with that in mind, giving the body nice support to begin with here in this Samastitihi, equal standing pose. You want to have two blocks, a yoga mat and a blanket folded behind where you're standing to give your knees a little cushion when we bring one or both knees down to the mat. So we begin by raising those arms up, keeping the shoulders away from the ears. This is mountain or Tadasana. And then bringing the hands to heart center as we exhale and forward fold, placing the hands on the blocks. And then inhale to half lift where we're finding that extension. I'm going to turn to the side just to show you. Extension from tailbone through crown of the head. So squeezing those shoulder blades in towards each other along the back, taking any rounding out of the back. So the crown of the head is reaching towards the front of your mat. And then exhale, place the hands on your blocks, and then we're going to step that step that left foot back and drop that knee down. Right knee is forward, and inhale, rise up to kneeling crescent. Again, keeping the shoulders away from the ears, nice and relaxed. And maybe even kind of pulling those shoulder blades down the back a little bit. And then exhale, place the hands on the blocks and bring that leg that was forward back to meet the other knee. And then coming into tabletop, we're going to have our hands nice and wide, fingers spread out, okay? And pointer finger roughly pointing towards the top edge of your mat, which is going to give you a little external rotation. You want to be able to see the crease on the inside of your elbow while not making it too significantly turned outwards, just so you can see it a little bit there. Gives your shoulders some space. So here we are in neutral tabletop, okay? And then we're going to tuck our toes under, engage our abdominals, and as we exhale, we're going to press those hips up towards the ceiling, press the heels down towards the mat, and press the chest towards the thighs. So trying to take that rounding out of the back again, feel that extension from the tailbone through the crown of the head. And then inhale, look up at the hands. Exhale, we're gonna come down, bring our knees down, and then come all the way down to our belly and pressing the shoelace part of the feet into the mat. And then we're going to just lift our head and chest as we inhale, and we're not even pressing the hands into the mat, they're just kind of there under the shoulders. And then exhale, press back to tabletop. And then bring those blocks back in. And then we're going to bring that left foot forward, okay, and rise up into kneeling crescent on this side. Really plant into that foot so you can feel your glutes engaging and your quads. And then place the hands on the blocks again, and we're going to lift up and bring that back foot up to meet the front foot into forward fold. Inhale, half lift with that extended spine. Exhale, forward fold, hands on the blocks. Engage your core, engage your abdominals and your pelvic floor a little bit. And then we're going to inhale with a nice strong spine, lifting all the way up and bringing those arms up, and then hands to heart center back to Samastitihi. Back to where we started, and we're going to repeat it one more time. So inhale, reach up, exhale, hands to heart center as we forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, forward fold, planting those hands on the blocks, and we bring the left leg back. And then reach up for kneeling crescent. Another option is to lean forward a little bit, as long as you have that front foot forward enough that your knee stays roughly over the ankle. You can bring that the hips forward a little bit to feel a release in that hip flexor of that back leg. It feels kind of nice. Okay, and then we're going to bring that right foot back. The knee is going to come right underneath the hips, and we're in tabletop again. Okay, and then we're going to tuck our toes under and lift our hips up as we exhale into down dog. Again, pressing the heels back towards the mat. You can spend a little time here too, pressing one heel back and then the other, but press that chest towards the thighs. Okay, feel that extension from tailbone through the crown of the head and out through the fingertips, pressing every knuckle of every fingertip into the mat to take the weight out of the wrists. And then inhale as we come down to tabletop, and then continue lowering ourselves down to the mat. And inhale into our baby back bend or baby cobra. So again, we're pressing the shoelace part of the feet into the mat, and we're just lifting that head and chest, even if it's a little bit, and squeezing the shoulder blades in towards each other. And then exhale, press back to tabletop, bringing those blocks in. And then we're going to bring that left foot forward, and then the other foot forward into our forward fold. And inhale, half lift. Exhale, forward fold. And inhale, strong core, rise up and come back to Samastitihi. Okay, actually let's just try it one more time. Maybe just a little bit quicker this time. Make sure we've got it, right? All right, inhale, rise up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift, find your extension. Exhale, hands go on the blocks, and we step one leg back, doesn't really matter which one. And then inhale, raise those arms. Exhale, hands come back down to the blocks, and then both knees come to that blanket. Maybe place those blocks aside for tabletop. Tucking the toes under, engaging your abdominals, and a slight lift in your pelvic floor. And then lift those hips up as you exhale into down dog. Pressing the chest towards the thighs, heels towards the mat, and weight away from your wrist going into every knuckle of each finger. And then inhale, bringing the knees down into tabletop and continuing to come lower down to the abdomen. And inhale, slight lift here, baby back bend. And then exhale, come back to tabletop. Okay. Bring those blocks back in, and whichever leg you brought back first, you're gonna bring that leg forward now first, and reach up for kneeling crescent, and then exhale, and we're going to come into our forward fold. So bringing that back leg to meet the front foot. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, raise the arms up and come back to Samastitihi. Very good. All right, so that is the flow part of this of the sequence today. And then we're going to do a few standing poses to further strengthen our knees. And the first one we're going to do, and you may want to turn sideways on your mat, but for demonstration purposes, I'm going to face this way. So my feet will go off the mat, but we're going to step the feet nice and wide. So wider than the width of your mat. But again, you can be on your mat facing the long edge of your mat. And you want the toes to go out at an angle. So if you are facing the long edge of your mat, then your toes are going to point towards the corners of your mat. Okay, toes are out, heels are in. And we're going to lower down. We're keeping a nice upright spine, and hands can come to heart center, and then we're going to bend those knees and lower down, and you want to keep that spine nice and tall, nice and long, so that tailbone is going down, and we're planting solidly into the feet, especially the pinky toe edges of the feet, so that you're not rolling those knees in. So I will show a little bit from the side here. Okay. So coming down into, this is goddess pose. We're keeping that spine nice and tall. So if you're finding that you're leaning forward as you're coming down, then try to bring that back, back a little bit, as if you were doing this against a wall and kind of sliding down the wall, which you can also try. Okay, so right here. And it doesn't necessarily matter how low you go. It's just feeling that engagement of the inner thighs and the quadriceps and the glutes, all supporting the knees. Strengthening them. A couple more breaths here. And if you had to come out of it and come back in, that's totally fine. And then inhale, raise back up. And we're going to step the feet together, coming back to Samastitihi. And then next we're going to move into Warrior Two. So we're going to have that right leg forward. We're going to step the left leg back. And make sure your feet are kind of in separate lanes. So we're not trying to line them up like we're on a tightrope. Okay? Have your feet in separate lanes. Front toes are facing towards the front edge of your mat. Back toes are turned in about 30 to 45 degrees, and that back heel is down, not lifted. So stance should be wide enough that you can put a good bend in that front knee and not have the knee go too far over the toes, okay? So I'll show you from the side here, Warrior Two. So this is, and then bring the arms out to the side like a T, and we're looking over the front right arm, front right fingers. And if your stance is not long enough, then you might look more like this, which we don't want. You want that knee, we're trying to keep the knee happy, keep that knee right over the ankle. So you might have to step that back foot back a little bit more in order to, get that knee right over the ankle, okay? And pressing into that front foot and the back foot very solidly. and not letting that knee roll in. So take a look down through the inner part of your knee and make sure you can see your big toe. If your knee is falling inward and covering the vision of your big toe, you want to press that knee out a little bit. So warrior two, shoulder blades are squeezing in towards each other along the back. Squeeze the legs in towards each other and the feet in towards each other, and then press the feet away from each other and feel how that changes that engagement in your legs. And then we're going to come in and out of it. So inhale into it, exhale, straighten that leg and bring the arms down. Inhale into it, exhale out of it. Inhale into it, exhale out of it. And then this time let's inhale, hold the pose, but we're going to keep breathing. Taking 3 breaths here while we hold it. And then coming out of it and stepping that back foot forward, returning to Samastitihi. Very good. And bringing a smile to your face, which helps to release serotonin and dopamine in the brain, even if you have to fake the smile. So those are the feel-good hormones and or neurochemicals, I should say. So bring a little smile to your face too. Now stepping the right foot back, now our left foot is forward and our left knee is bent. Back toes are turned in 30 to 45 degrees and our feet are in different lanes. Reach arms out to a T, look over that front left hand. Shoulder blades are kind of squeezing in towards each other along the back. And another common mistake in warrior two is where we're leaning forward, okay? And right here, we're trying to keep in warrior two our body nice and tall in the center. All right, so that's another thing to be mindful of. Looking over our front left hand there. And then we're going to exhale, come out of it, inhale back into it. Exhale out of it, inhale back into it, exhale out of it, inhale back into it, and let's hold it here for 3 breaths. And then straighten that leg, exhale, come out of it, and step the feet together for Samastitihi. All right, very good. Now let's step that left foot back and same feet as we had in warrior two, okay? So different lanes, front toes facing the front edge of your mat, back toes turned in about 30 to 45 degrees. But this time we're keeping both legs straight. So I'll show you from the side, okay? And again, you want to have a pretty good sized stance. And we're going to bring the hands to the hips, okay? And then turn towards the front edge of your mat or towards that front leg, which right now is the right. Turn the hips in that direction, okay? And then we're going to reach that left arm up and hinge at the hips, sending that back left hip back. And then we're going to take our block and place it just inside our front foot and bring your right hand to your hip and the elbow comes back in towards your back, okay? And this is a modified version of revolved triangle. Squeezing those inner thighs in towards each other and pressing into both feet. And then inhale, rise back up, engaging your core before you lift up. Very good. And now we're gonna try just regular triangle, okay? So bring the arms out kind of like you do with Warrior Two, but both of our legs are straight, okay? We are going to hinge forward so that left hip is kind of going back, hinging forward, and then just tipping the arms, kind of like a teapot, we're tipping, and then place your hand on the block because you want to be able to open up your chest. Okay, open up that chest to the left and roughly stacking your shoulders kind of on top of each other. And if you want to have that hand on the hip, that's okay too, but try not to let the shoulder fall forward. We don't want our chest facing the floor. We want it facing the wall, okay? And then put a bend in that front leg, look down at that front foot, and press back up to a T. Okay, very good. Bringing the feet back together, and then we'll try that on the other side. So now we're stepping the right foot back, keeping the feet in different lanes, and back foot is turned in about 30 to 45 degrees. And nice long stance. We started with revolve triangle last time, so we'll start with that this time. Go ahead and bring your left hand on your left hip, right arm reaches up, and we're gonna bring that tailbone back, that right hip is reaching back. We're gonna reach forward and then over that front leg as we bring a block in to place our hand on, and just leaving that left hand on your left hip, but bring that elbow in towards the back. Squeezing those inner thighs in towards each other. Just holding for a couple breaths here. And then inhale and engage your core and pelvic floor a little bit there too. And as you lift up, very good. And bring the arms out to a T. And now we're going to reach forward, bringing that right hip back. And I'll do it from the side so you can see. Okay, hinging forward and then tilting. Okay, so you want that the upper body to go forward and that right hip to go back to make room for our hips to bend in this, for our left hip to be able to bend forward like this. Okay, and you can use that block to place under your hand so you can open up. And also that right hand can go on the right hip. Just kind of press the shoulder and elbow back to open up your chest towards the side wall rather than down towards the floor. Couple breaths. And then look down at your foot and put a little bend in that front left leg, and then inhale, rise up back to a T, and exhale, step the feet together, Samastiti. Okay, very good. And then we're going to step that left foot back again, go into our warrior feet. Again, the front toes are facing the front edge of the mat. Back toes turned in 30 to 45 degrees. That back heel is planted. We're going to bend into that front knee. So kind of like, just like we did in Warrior Two. But this time, we're going to bring that front hip back and the back hip forward. So now our hips are lining up a little bit more with the front edge of our mat, okay? And this is Warrior One. We'll raise those arms up, shoulders stay away from the ears, reach up, and then we'll come in and out of this. So inhale as we have a bend in that front knee, pressing into that outer back edge of that back foot. Actually the whole foot, but make sure you have that pinky toe edge of the foot pressed into the mat for sure. And then exhale, come out of it, straighten that knee and lower the arms. Inhale, raise the arms again. Exhale, come out of it. Another option, instead of the raised arms, you can have them out at goal posts, but you are squeezing those shoulder blades in towards each other and lower again. And inhale and lower. And then this time we're going to hold either with the arms at goal posts or raising those arms up. Just keep those shoulders relaxed and away from the ears. A couple more breaths. And exhale out of it. Step that back foot forward for Samastitihi. Remember to bring that smile to your face, and then we'll step that right foot back. So now the left foot is forward. Feet are on their own tracks, right? And bend that front knee, pressing into that full, all four corners of that front foot, as well as that back foot. Okay, and then bringing that front hip back and the back hip forward. So our hips are lined up a little bit more towards the front of the mat. And then inhale, raise the arms up, keeping the shoulders away from the ears. And then we'll come in and out of this. Exhale, straighten that leg, lower the arms. Inhale, bend the knee, raise the arms. Exhale, come out of it. Inhale, back into it. Exhale, out of it. And inhale back into it. Again, the arms can be raised up or goalpost arms. Holding for a couple breaths. Squeezing those feet in towards each other and then away from each other and feeling that engagement in the legs. The legs really fire up. And then exhale out of it and step that back foot forward, back to Samastitihi. All right, a couple more poses here. And again, you're welcome to pause and get a drink and then come back into it. Okay. It's a lovely thing about videos. All right, now we're going to take that left foot, step it back, not quite as far as we had before. Both legs are going to be straight, and those back toes are facing a little bit more forward. Okay, and turning those hips so that they're lined up a little bit more towards the front edge of your mat. And bringing those hands behind your back, maybe holding on to each forearm. And inhale, shine your heart, lift your chin. And then exhale, hinge at the hips, and we're going to come forward over that front straight leg. Now, option to have your blocks here on either side of that front foot. Okay, instead of the hands being behind your back, each hand can go onto a block. I'm going to hold it here for a few breaths. And then inhale, begin to lift the head, and then engaging the core. We're going to lift, put a little bend in that front knee, and then lift on up. Very good. And you can walk your hands up your leg too, if that works better for you. Okay. And then step the foot back up. You have to kind of move the blocks a little bit. Coming back to Samastitihi. And then we'll do the other side. So reaching that right foot back, not too far, and aligning the toes a little bit more forward, those back toes, than they were in our Warrior One or Warrior Two, or triangle. Okay, and then our hips, our back hip comes forward and front hip goes back, so that our hips are a little more lined up with the front edge of the mat. And then inhale, shine the heart, raise the chin. Hands can go behind your back or stay in your hips if you're going to reach down for the blocks. And then exhale, nice long spine, strong spine, and keeping that core engaged as we hinge from our hips over that front straight leg and maybe bring the hands to the blocks. And then let the head lower after you are folded over that front leg. And holding here. And you can have the blocks on the tall side or the medium side. And after you do this a bit on a regular basis, you might be able to then put the blocks on their lowest side. And then inhale, begin to lift the chin, engage your pelvic floor and your abdominals, and then we're going to lift nice strong back up. You can walk those hands up the legs if you want. And then exhale, step that back foot to meet the front, back into Samastitihi. All right, now for this next one, I am going to turn my mat around to face this way. All right. Have those blocks kind of at the top of your mat there. And we're going to step our feet out nice and wide. Bring your arms out and check to see maybe your wrists are over your ankles. Okay, so nice wide stance. And we're going to bring the hands to the hips. The toes come in so that the outer edges of your feet are parallel with the outer edges of your mat. So unlike when we did goddess and our toes were pointed out at a diagonal, now the toes are in so that the outer edges of your feet are parallel with the outer edges of your mat. Hands to the hips, elbows out, and then press those elbows back in towards each other as you inhale and lift your chin, shine your heart. And then as you exhale, put a soft bend in the knees, not much, just a soft bend. Send that tailbone back as you hinge at the hips and come into your wide-legged forward fold. Reach for those blocks, and you could have them on whatever height that works best for you. But maybe start in a folded position, and then inhale, extend that spine so your crown of your head is reaching forward and you're kind of lifted. Okay. And then exhale, forward fold again. Let that head drop and just feel the natural effects of gravity giving some traction to your back, to your spine. And if it works for you, you can take your hands off the blocks and place them on the mat, but the blocks are there for your support if you want to raise the floor up a little bit. Okay, and then we're gonna bring our hands back to those blocks. We're gonna bend the knees and we're gonna step those feet in together before we rise up. So feet come in towards each other, okay? Just about hip bone distance apart, and then engage your core lock, your Uddiyana Bandha, and your pelvic floor, Mula Bandha. Okay, and then we're gonna inhale and rise up. You can use your hands to help you. Nice strong spine, roll those shoulders back, reach up. As we inhale, exhale, bring the hands to heart center, Samastitihi. Okay. All that's left now is to come down to your mat and lay down in your final resting posture, Shavasana. So for Shavasana, we come down and give each leg and each arm its own space. And imagine that your mat and the earth below it is lifting you up. And you just fully relax right into it. notice any sensations in your body. Scan your body head to toe to see where you can relax just a little bit more. Are you holding your shoulders at all? Are they tense at all? Let them relax. Shavasana is where we let the effects of our practice download. And we begin to breathe a little more deeply and notice our body relaxing a little bit more. We're training our nervous system to engage the rest, digest, and heal part of our nervous system, that parasympathetic nervous system state. You can stay here a little longer or start to wiggle the toes and fingers, and eventually rolling the wrists and ankles out, bringing the knees into the chest, and maybe you just hold it underneath the knees, but a nice little roll side to side can feel good on the back. And then rolling to one side or the other. Resting on your lower bicep. And then pressing yourself gently up to a seated position. And sitting with nice tall spine, pelvis tilted forward a little bit for that axial extension. Again, thinking of your spine as kind of the coat rack for your body. Your spine and your shoulders, that is. And then bring the hands to heart center. Bowing to seal in your practice. Thank your body for all that it does for you. And I thank you for joining me on the mat today.